This is System 1, Week 9. We're going to be in the pentatonics. For this, the pentatonics, we're going to do something that's pretty cool. It's a progression you hear a lot. These are called common progressions, of course, because these are progressions that you've heard a number of times. But sometimes these progressions are very difficult to deal with. So some of even the easy pop stuff that we deal with, that we've heard a million times, can be really challenging if you try to solo over top of it. And sometimes, these things aren't great for soloing, really. They're fine for parts, but they're harder for soloing. But we're going to do a couple things on a progression that you've heard before. So this progression, I'm going to be in the key of G. We're going to be in the E form of these. So I'm going to go from a G chord up to a B chord. All right, now this is a progression that you've heard a bunch. But let me talk my way through it. So it's going to go from G to B to C, and then I'm going to go to E flat. Okay, so I've got two really oddball chords and two really normal chords. So just to give a little bit of music theory, and don't feel like you're drowning in music theory if I say this, but typically your 1, 4, 5. Always, your 1, 4, 5 in any given key are major chords. Your 2, 3, 6 chords are minor chords. So in the key of G, you have G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. So it would be G major, 1, A minor, B minor, 2 and 3, C and D, 4 and 5, A minor, 6, and then F sharp diminished. We won't deal with that one at all. But if you notice, I've got two chords that don't belong. I've got the G chord, which is my 1 chord, and I've got the C chord, G, A, B, C, which is my 4 major chord. So all good there. But this B chord, where is this thing coming from, and how does it relate to anything? Well, I don't want to go too much into the theory of it again, because it can sort of make your head spin a little bit. But these are called secondary dominants. They're borrowed chords from either different keys or different ideas. And a lot of times you would hear this that would drop basically onto an E minor chord. So it would be the 5 chord of E minor, E, F, G, A, B. And it puts you for just a brief second in the key of E minor. You hear that. So that's a sound that you've heard before. Okay, so that's where that's sort of coming from, but it resolves oddly. It doesn't resolve to the E minor, it resolves instead to the C chord. And again, I'm not going to go into that, but C and E minor hold 2 notes in common, so they can be interchangeable chords in some ways. All right, so enough on that one. So we've got the B chord going to the C chord, and then we've got this E flat chord. Okay, and again, I don't want to stick in theory too long because I don't want you to click off of this video. I want you to actually go through this and learn this stuff. But this is from the parallel minor. Okay, so if I went to the key of G minor, it's the same as B flat major. So remember our minor pentatonic, G minor and B flat major, we said are the same thing. So this is from the key of B flat major, which is G minor, same key basically. And in B flat, you have B flat, C minor, D minor, E flat minor is the 4 chord, and that's what we're dealing with here. So it's a borrowed chord from this parallel minor. And you've all heard this sort of sound. So if we're in G, so that's just 1, 4, 5. Now I'm going to go to this E flat, to the F major, and G, and you've heard that a million times before. So that's the 4, 5 of the borrowed minor. All right, so I'm just taking this 4 chord, the E flat chord. So again, our progression is going to be, sorry that was so long, but hopefully as you understand this stuff, like if you get it in your head a little bit, you'll see like, oh, that's that thing. When you analyze it, then in short order, you'll hear this stuff and you'll be like, I know that sound. That's that thing. That's that thing that I practiced on week 9 of the Guitar Daily Workout. That's that, major 3 chord and that, borrowed, they would call it the flat 6 chord, the borrowed flat 6 chord in the key of G. Because again, G, A, B, C, D, E flat would be the flat 6. All right, so, and then the next step from that is to not have to think about it and think what we're going to practice, but to hear it and to respond. And really good players will actually do that. You could throw these chords at them and they're going to play over top of them and they're going to play the right stuff. And that's what we're practicing. All right, so let's just jump right in because that was a long explanation for the beginning of this, but very worthwhile stuff. It's super important stuff for you to understand. All right, so I'm going to walk through what we're going to do. So we're going to do the pentatonics, of course. So I'm in the E form of the pentatonic. So I'm going to do that for the G major, of course. When I get to this B chord, it doesn't work for the pentatonic. So what I'm going to have you do is one of two things. You can play this triad here of the B, or the E form of the B up here. And I'd like you to do the E form because that's what we're actually working on. But if you're playing a line here, you can go to that major chord there, and then you can also go to this, which is part of that. You see it's the same shape, all right? So on the B, arpeggio notes only are the notes that you can play on it. Then we get to the C chord. When I get to the C chord, think of it in this E form again, up here on 8th fret, pentatonic there. Then we get to the E flat. Let's put it here again, and I'm going to have you do E form of the pentatonic, and you're going to hear this. So basically, I'm in a G pentatonic, B major, C pentatonic, and you can hear, like, as I play that, you heard those chord changes, and that's the whole goal of this thing. You know, so many people, when they play, they just kind of wander on a pentatonic or something. It can sound good, but you don't really know where you're going chord change-wise. This stuff, you're going to start hitting stuff, and you're going to start hearing melodies, which would be great. All right, let me walk through this this thing. I'm going to talk through it. I never do a very good job of talking through this. Sorry, it's hard to, like, talk while I'm improvising. I can talk while I do the scales because I know the scales well enough, but when you're improvising, your brain's engaged in a different way. So I'll try to talk my way through this. So I'm going to start off on G major pentatonic. B, arpeggio, C major, E flat major, and you can add that note, E major. All right, and I'm going to give you one more option of things that you can do that I'd encourage you to do a little bit. So just those, but on this, if you remember, I showed you on one of these the Hendrix types of fills. So there's two different types of fills that you can do, and these sound super musical, so they're really useful. If I was soloing over top of this, I probably would do this stuff. This, and I'd probably do that with first and third finger. But you can choose your fingers on it, because sometimes when you're improvising, you get into weird fingerings. Same thing on this. And then the double stops, which is just playing two notes at once like I did, but I'm going to do. All right, and then the B is just a straight B, and then you get to the C, and then E flat. All right, let me play those ideas real quick for you. And you'll hear, like, guitarists, you've heard this on a million records, people doing this stuff, and that's why it's so good. So I'll do the slides first. You hear how well that works. So you can throw those in as well, but mostly practice your pentatonics because that's what you're practicing. Last thing I'll say, and then I'm done, is this high note, you can bend. So if you want to bend that note, you're welcome to bend that. All right, I'm going to do a quick demo. I've talked enough, and then it'll be your turn to play through this stuff.